Hi, everyone. We are going to take a little time to talk about the Going Gothic assignment. Now, this assignment is due at the end of the Gothic Americans module, which is very short. It's only a couple of lessons long. But what I want you guys to really take away from the Going Gothic assignment and the Gothic Americans module as a whole is that Gothic literature really focuses on our emotions. You guys probably think whenever you hear the word Gothic, something dark and brooding and just very sad. And you're not totally wrong there. But really, the important part of Gothic literature that I want you guys to take away from this is that we really had never tapped into that aspect of humanity prior to this literary movement. It's pretty new in literature to want to talk about our emotions and talk about the sad parts of life. So that's really what makes Gothic literature so prominent and prevalent in American literature, is that we are actually talking about things that all Americans face, all people of all walks of life face throughout their life stages. So, for this assignment, you guys will need to click on this link down here and it will prompt you to make a copy of a Google Doc. Do that, please. And you will get a copy of the assignment in a Google Doc form for you. So you guys will see that there are really just 5 things you're going to do for this assignment. Ultimately, what we're going to be doing is we're going to take a work of Gothic literature and we're going to kind of put it into a movie or a film version. So we're not totally like taking the work and transposing it into a film script. We're really just kind of getting started. So I want you guys to think mostly about the imagery and the setting and those really important details that we can take and manipulate and be creative with to turn something that's written in text into something really fantastical in film. So, for this assignment, you are going to imagine a work of Gothic literature as a film, and you will describe in detail how the film might best convey its Gothic themes. So, you're going to complete each of the questions that I have here below, and you guys can type your responses here in these fancy little boxes. You can just take out the type your response here. You don't need to leave that or anything, but that's where you will put your response. All right, so let's take a look at these questions. Number 1, the first thing you'll do is choose a work of Gothic literature to consider producing as a film. It can be a work that is featured in the Gothic Americans module, or it can be something that you've previously read. The only requirement is that it has to be classified as Gothic literature. So we're mostly reading Edgar Allan Poe in the Gothic Americans module, but I would say that the Headless Horseman that we read in the last module, the Romantic Americans, absolutely could be classified as Gothic literature as well. It's very dark. I think it fits the profile we're going for here. So if you're into that story, you absolutely can use that as well. But it has to be a work of Gothic literature, right? And that's all you're going to put here is the work that you're going to be using for the remainder of this assignment. Number 2, there are often multiple themes featured in a literary work. Identify 2 or 3 of your literary work's key themes and select just one to emphasize. So again, you really just need to put 2 or 3 themes found in the literary work you're going to be working with for this assignment. And you can use the highlighter tool up here once you've kind of chosen one that maybe you think best represents the overall point or moral of the story, or maybe you just enjoy best, or maybe encompasses the Gothic literature profile that we're going for with this assignment. But list a few of those themes there and decide on one that you'll use for this assignment. In number 3, identify and describe 3 important scenes from your literary work that must appear in the film version. So any 3 scenes that you think just absolutely are pivotal to telling this story. Like if you were going to relay this story to your best friend, they'd never heard of it, never read it before, and you had to choose only 3 scenes to tell them about in order to get them to read this story, I want you to go with those. Now, you could also choose 3 themes, or I'm sorry, 3 scenes from the story that you think best support or best represent the theme that you're going to work with that you selected in number 2. That's okay as well. But make sure they're important scenes, not something, that just kind of is in the background that isn't very memorable. Make sure they're good scenes. And you can list those in bullet points there, or you can just list them in paragraph form, whatever is easiest for you. So for number 4, for each of those scenes that you've identified in number 3, I want you to suggest some filming locations, props, and sets that you think will be needed to convey the right mood for this film. So this is really where you get to express your own creativity. So for each of these scenes, I want you to think about, where would you film this? Do you think it would be best to film it in a studio setting and you can work in a bunch of CGI and other cool graphics? If you're going to go that route, please describe in the most descriptive detail as possible what those graphics will look like. Or if you want to film on location somewhere, I want you to describe where you're going to film. Is it going to be in a particular city or a particular region? Is it going to be in the country or in the middle of a city or a house? Be specific with that. All right. Now, what other props are you going to use? Are you going to need to use like some really intense stage makeup or some blood or gore, some types of really extravagant character costumes? Be specific with your props. And the sets, that can also kind of go into your filming locations, like if you're doing it in a studio or if you're doing it on location somewhere. Really think about what your set is going to look like. Think about the set of like a TV or a movie studio and what that would look like. Sometimes they're indoors in the studio, sometimes they're outdoors on location, and that's okay. But really think about what the scene you're trying to capture here looks like. What do you want to have? Is it going to be night? Is it going to be day? Is it going to be cold or hot outside? Is there going to be lights on the street, like street lights or the moon or stars or anything like that? Is it going to be deeply wooded or completely open area? Really be specific, setting the scene and setting the stage for those scenes that you've chosen. Now, the last thing you're going to do in number 5 is decide how the film should begin and end. And this is really just descriptive paragraphs, just a paragraph for each, the opening and the closing. And I want you to describe how this story starts and how this story ends. Are you going to open up with fog rolling into the countryside and you have a close-up shot of a person walking through the country all by themselves? Do you maybe have some music eerily playing in the background or something like that? All right. And you're going to do that for both the opening and the closing scenes that you have chosen here. All right. Now, this is all you have to do for this assignment. I want you guys to really think outside of the box, get those creative juices flowing, and write me some really great production notes for a work of Gothic literature. Now, once you have finished this assignment, please make sure you go up to the share button and make sure that your share settings are set to services.live. And when they are, click done, and you are ready to submit your assignment.